All right. Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in here to today's Fixed Ops Marketing Panel discussion. I am Ryan Girardi, and today is Tuesday, November 26th. And for today's discussion, a big recall announcement came up related to FCA. They announced they're going to be recalling nearly 700,000 cars for faulty electrical connections. And this is an issue that can prevent engine starts and contribute to a stall. And it affects, I think, close to 700,000 vehicles across the US, Canada, and Mexico. Now, the recall, which covers vehicles from 2011 to 2013 on the Dodge Durango and the Jeep Grand Cherokee SUVs, will address deposits on the contact points of fuel pump relays that may interrupt electrical current. And coincidentally, the automaker had previously recalled most of the same SUVs in 2014 and 15 for issues with their fuel pump relays. So what we decided to do is make this the leading segment of our conversation today as part of the Fixed Ops Marketing Panel Series. So let me provide a little bit of orientation. This is the third time that we have conducted this panel session out of the Auto Retail Marketing webcast series. And what we do is we set up an announcement about it on the AutoConverse blog. So if you're subscribed to that, you'll get notified via email. And in there is the live stream. It's featured right there. And what we do is we invite a handful of panelists on. Today I have Jared Kilway from Germain Automotive Partnerships. We have Greg Noonan on. He's a fixed operations consultant who, if you don't know, Greg has been in the industry on the fixed ops side for many a year. We also have Ed Roberts on, who is fixed ops director at Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine. James Windrow from Revolution Parts is on with us, as is Owen Moon from Fixed Ops Digital. So let me first just say, gentlemen, thanks for being here. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ryan.
So, Owen, thanks for bringing up the idea to make this part of the discussion. For folks that are tuned in live on the stream or here backstage on the Zoom, feel free to throw out ideas and questions for us, for the panelists. Our goal here really today, being that we have Jared and Ed from the retail side, is to really get them to to come in here and really gain some tangible insights for themselves and for those that are participating. So, Owen, great idea on making this the lead talking point. Jared, I want to go to you. You're with Germain. You have, a number of stores. I think that you dabble in personally. There's probably over a dozen stores that you dabble in. When you see an announcement like this, even though you might not have a Chrysler store, when you see a recall of this size, which isn't uncommon, what goes through your mind, and what's the immediate response from you and your team?
To the contrast, whereas most people who get a recall notification, especially something of this kind of volume, some sort of panic mode can definitely entice, at the store level, just because you're going to be dealing with an influx of your loyal owners reaching out, seeing if their car is affected, what they can do to get it resolved, how should they drive their cars, should they park it, whatever that situation may be. So we look at it as more of an opportunity to continue to strengthen our brand as a automotive group and really provide what we do in terms of a sales side of, providing that customer level of experience and treating like a guest in our home. And we do that through, multiple measures. And, we've had, the biggest recall that affected our brands here was the Takata one, and we're still, waiting to that. We're still getting that one done. We've still got a few hanging out there, but that was one of the bigger ones that affected us pretty deeply with our OEM-free service. But it's these recalls, it's just part of life. It's part of business, but it's the opportunity to explain to the customer what's going on, explain to them exactly what we know as the dealer and what the OEMs are communicating to us of what the next step should be. And, having Greg on here is great because it's something him and I have talked about here in the past is how can we bridge the gap from the dealer and the OEM to the consumer? Because the consumers are going to come back to the dealer, and we're going to be their point of contact where they reach out and question. The OEM makes the consumer aware, and us as dealers, we're sitting here in the middle, and we might not have all the answers to be able to take care and answer that customer's question. So, one thing I would love to see is somehow to better communicate the recalls, the magnification of the recalls, as well as the next steps of what's coming down to us as the dealers, rather than just an email say, hey, you have 650 vehicles in stock that are affected, and this many customers could be affected by the recall. I just think a better timeline of next steps would be great for us as a dealership to communicate to our own customer base.
I'm curious, based on what you said, how much advance notice do you get as the retailer about the upcoming recall before you hear it in the news?
There's been times where we've gotten news articles sent to us that we didn't even know that it was officially out yet, or sometimes it's a day or a day, maybe two beforehand, and there's it's just an email. I think there's a better way that this can get communicated to us as dealers of what's about to happen, so we can have kind of a prep period of what we can expect. Do I need to have all my service BDC on actually on staff, because we're going to see an elevated volume of service related phone calls? So we're kind of in a position that if we don't start having the ability to communicate earlier to the dealers, us as dealers aren't going to be able to take care of those guests the way they should be, because we're still trying to plan, schedules around service advisors, service BDC to be able to field the calls, having just a meeting of our fixed ops team of letting them know, hey, here's a recall that's going to affect 20,000 of our customers here. Here's what the recall is. Here's the next steps provided by the OEM, so that everybody's properly trained and educated on how to handle it and how we can communicate with our customers so we can retain that loyalty piece to us. So that's just one thing I would love to see help us as on the dealer side communicate down from the tops and the OEMs.
Greg, I'd love to hear you respond to that. I mean, you have tight relationships with FCA dealers specifically, but what can you add to that as far as the way it's communicated, the timeliness, and the method?
As Jared might guess, I'm going to stay away from that, but I'm not at the same time. First of all, FCA has a well-publicized site that anybody can go on and type in their VIN number and see if they're affected by this recall, and it's that quick. Put your VIN number in and see if you're affected if you haven't already been notified by Chrysler or one of the dealers. But I think I'd rather speak to the other side, because FCA has a very nice team of people to handle these. And I think it gets back to when you look at the age of any vehicle being recalled, whether it's a GM, a Toyota, a Ford, a Chrysler, and not to be opportunistic here, but to speak to, if we retain them as a customer right from the point of sale, they're going to be used to coming to our dealership. They're going to be conversant with us, and they're going to be used to having a dialogue with us and comfortable finding anything they need to about the cars that we bought from that dealer, regardless of brand. And then when the recall happens, this isn't somebody that hasn't been in your store in 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months. It was somebody here for their last oil change or something. I think that speaks more easily to the relationship the dealer has with the OEM, and Jermaine has an excellent one, and so do many of our dealers. So I'll let Chrysler Corporate, as you know, it's a very, very sensitive issue, speak to that. But I think on the conference side, when we see something like this, and just like you, Owen, we have many vendors that will, like Kelly Blue Book or others, Carfax, they have a recall process with through our market center as a vendor. And we're out there reaching out to our dealers instantly and to our consumers.
No, I think you nailed it, Greg. As you said, having that relationship, from point of sale, and having those communications back and forth, that definitely, strengthens that relationship. And, just having somebody like yourself, who purchases a vehicle, you expect a certain level of service and a certain level of relationship. No matter if you're spending $5,000 or $100,000, you still should expect the same kind of level of service and experience, both on the sales side and the service side. I not pointing fingers at anyone here, whether it's an OEM, a dealer, or consumer, but I just think that we, as an automotive culture, have the ability to enhance the overall customer experience by making some adjustments to maybe how the communication is from all levels too, down from the OEMs to the consumers directly. I know right now they still do it via mail. I just got one on my wife's GMC the other day, but I got it literally last Friday when I got back in town, but I had already know that recall was out there on her Yukon because as you said, I've done my research and I've checked to see, and the news is there. So it's almost like the OEM to consumer communication is sometimes weeks past due, so that they're already see the news, and then we as the dealers are the ones that are responsible for trying to figure out what the next steps are and how to communicate with that customer and still retain them from both a sales side as well as a service side.
Practically speaking, recalls, there's two different types, right? There's safety recalls, there's non-safety recalls, and they're pretty common. I mean, especially the non-safety recalls, there are so many of them. They're not necessarily all a big announcement or a big PR debacle in any way. So really, between the OEM and the dealer, there's like this constant cycle. Ed, I'd love to hear you chime in on this as fixed ops director at two brands, Ford, Lincoln. What is that flow of recalls, and how much awareness do you need in your position? How does it impact you?
Recalls for us is an opportunity to reintroduce customers back to our store. Yes, you're going, like James says, you're going to have some customers that are loyal to you that you're taking care of forever. But there's tons of vehicles out there with recalls on that's never been to a dealer, whether they're second owner or third owner. And we're not doing a good job of reaching out to those customers. And we got to find a different way to reach out to them and have safety inspections that need to be done before you can renew a tag or whatever else. I'd like to see that tie into recalls. Need a recall inspection done to clear them, or maybe tied into insurance. But the 30 to 35% that typically deal with the dealer, those recalls are going to get done, and you get another percentage of the worry warts that hears it and they're going to chase it and they get it done. But there's hundreds of thousands of recalls that, quite frankly, it's an inconvenience to the customer, and their car's running fine. They don't care. They don't care that the airbag could kill them or whatever it may be. Their car's fine, and they think it's a way for us to just lure them in. And there's got to be something that ties them in stronger to the dealer, whether that's if parts aren't available from a safety inspection or a recall inspection before a tag renewal, then they get a release letter from us or something like that. But we got to bring somebody else into this to be able to force them into the dealer to get them done.
When you say bring someone else in, what do you have in mind? Like another entity?
Yes, like DMV or insurance companies or something similar to that, to where it ties into every vehicle, and there's an inspection process that goes through that. Whether they go online and they print out that it's clear, or they go online and it shows that they have it and they can schedule it. But we've tried to reach out to our customers the same way for years, and we send them free recall inspections and this, that, and the other. But most of them are not going to respond. About half of them do, because of loyalty to the dealer and because they're worry warts, but the other half do not.
And you say even on safety recalls, you'll find consumers aren't responsive, or is it more of a lack of awareness?
It's both. It's lack of awareness. the second and third owner vehicles, sometimes DMV don't even know where they're at. Um, so that's an awareness standpoint. But with some of the Takata stuff that Jared spoke about, we went to people's homes to take care of them, and they tell us, "Hey, my car's fine. I don't need anybody to do anything to it," and they don't want you to do it.
So, oh, and this makes you think of you guys over at Fixed Ops Digital. Are you working with, whether it's, with Jared or any other dealers on being proactive about, the awareness aspect of recalls and getting them addressed?
Yeah, it's a great question. The thing about any marketing strategy is always to find out, what is the challenges, or maybe, where are the holes in the process, and see if we can't be part of the solution. And you're right. One of the things that we have found is, and to Greg's point, is that, all the manufacturers have a website you can go to as a customer, and you can find out, put your VIN in, and you can find out if you have a recall, right? An open recall. There's a couple things that from a dealership standpoint that's challenging there. Usually if that customer goes on to, say, Toyota.com and does the recall VIN lookup, if they're closer to another Toyota store than Jared's, they're going to get, the person who's going to get that lead is going to be that Toyota store. So now, without trying even, the OEM has now pushed that customer to another Toyota store that's Jared's customer. And so that's kind of one challenge that we've looked at. And so one of the things that we've done is put together, and we've been doing some piloting with it. We've done a little bit with Jared, kind of get this thing going. But, as of January 2020, we are going to be fully launching what we're calling our Drive Service Recalls product. And what it's going to be is, it's going to be a little bit of what you guys were just talking about. It's going to be more education through content delivery. It's going to be putting awareness on the dealership's website for different places where they can find out that recall. And more importantly, it's going to keep that customer inside the environment that the dealership that we're working for, so they, so their customer stays inside their relationship. Because nothing worse than if we're doing some recall stuff for a dealer, and they go on to our dealership's website. We've got some information that we're providing about a particular recall, or maybe a VIN lookup for, to see what recalls are out there. They fill out their information, and all of a sudden the same franchise 3 miles away is getting the lead, because they're closer to that dealership when they're performing that search, or where their IP address is showing up. So there's some challenges there, and I think we're trying to close that for our guys, and really create kind of that environment where there's some walls that we can build for our dealerships that we're working with. So.
That's great for me to hear, because I don't want to drive somebody to a factory website that's going to drive them somewhere else. So
Absolutely.
if there's something we can put out there to drive them, that we can do a recall check on and drive them back to me, I'm all about it.
I wonder if that's a role that just automotive vendors, not all automotive vendors. I mean, James, curious what's going through your mind when you think about Revolution Parts, your relations with, I think thousands of dealers that your company works with. Do you guys do anything now to assist dealers as it pertains specifically to their recall business? And if not, that's okay. I'm just curious.
No, we don't. But as I was listening to the conversation, I was recalling that the last time I received recall notices was from Geico, and then previously Progressive. So I do think there are some partnerships in place. In both of those instances, they're not attempting to redirect or suggest which dealer I should be engaged or I should reach out to have that recall looked into. But my hope is that dealers are doing an excellent job of delivering service. They're doing a great job of reaching out and engaging their customers throughout the ownership of their car, not just to get them to come back and buy, but of course to get them to come back and to service their car, so that when those recall notifications do come in, or a customer does get a recall notification, even if the OEM is recommending a different dealership, hopefully the relationship exists where they will naturally go back to where they always go. And I think that that's really on the dealerships and not so much on the OEMs to solve that part.
Yeah, which is perfect, James, because I mean, for us anyways, and obviously, I'm pretty close to this because of the relationships that we have with our stores and kind of what they're seeing from that. That's ultimately why we're putting this program together and launching it, because we've seen some of the holes there, and to obviously to hope that a customer comes back to the store. Now you're kind of hoping and praying and guessing, I guess. One of the things that Jared did, and Jared, maybe you can touch on this a little bit. He used his database as a kind of an avenue to go after some of those recalls when that Takata recall came out, and obviously he works with us, so we were able to kind of help him with some of the content and some of the education side of it. But it's much different than just getting a postcard in the mail that says, hey, you got an airbag recall. I mean, people, you're right, don't understand the importance of that and sort of the seriousness of it. So you have to build out a page or a content piece that really kind of takes it a little bit further. And so maybe, Jared, you want to speak to that? I'd love to have you jump in on that.
No, absolutely. And, we've done a couple of, pilot cases to, really test the customer engagement from those avenues, Owen. And, we've done, blower motor recalls on Toyota. We've done, the Takata airbag recalls at the Lexus stores. But it's trying to get the message to the consumer and provide that awareness in a format that is something that they're tangible to. The big buzz that's been going on in automotive for the past, really 12 to 18 months, and every company now has an avenue of it, which is, social media marketing. And of course, it always starts on the variable side, and then it trickles down to fixed ops. And I see that social media marketing definitely growing and evolving for fixed ops here over the next couple months. But we've been doing it month in, month out, not only with our specials and coupons to our owner base, specifically targeting those owners, but also, as Owen was talking about, providing that awareness for those recalls where, customer that's, going on Facebook or they're on Instagram and they're saying, hey, recall on 2017 Tacoma, and it's a link right back to a content landing page specific to what the recall is. Is it, as Ryan, as you were saying, is it a safety recall or is it more of a general recall? So they kind of know what action they need to take as the consumer. And then also the ability to input your VIN number and see if your vehicle's been affected, yes or no. And we've done those campaigns and we've had great success with it. Coming from the parts side, we do a great job with that, because then the customer at that point is like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a blower motor recall for my 17 Tacoma. It's not the end of the world, but if I'm down here in sunny, hot Florida and I lose air conditioning in the month of the summer, it is a big deal. So we've had, really good results by doing it, and it's just communicating to them other than just picking up the phone, the OEMs, mailing out a postcard, just communicating out to them what the situation is specific to their vehicle. And we've had great feedback from not only our service team, but also from the consumers themselves.
It sounds to me, and Ed kind of prompted from your idea here, if there was a third party entity, like you said, the DMV, right? But what about just a service provider whose sole purpose, I mean, maybe ad agencies, and I keep thinking of you guys to some degree, but maybe it's a role that ad agencies play, is to really keep, work with the dealers to keep them and their customer base informed and aware of what's going on, what needs to be done, and why. It sounds like there'd be a demand for that.
Yeah, I mean, and we're really leading that charge as a fixed ops agency. A lot of the agencies out there, are so integrated with sales and the variable side that to get them to do anything fixed ops is taking them completely out of their comfort zone. So, I can only speak for Fixed Ops Digital, but one of the reasons why we exist is to close that gap and help dealerships with their fixed ops marketing. And so instead of trying to get something from a variable agency that might not have a lot of experience in it, or maybe isn't necessarily scorecarded on how they're helping dealerships from a service marketing standpoint. That's kind of where we've taken on that role. So yeah, that's why we're ahead of it in terms of getting this out, is just so we know our dealers. It's been a pain point for our guys, and we're really looking forward to kind of rolling this out into our, not only our dealer base, but as we move forward in 2020. So
Well, I'm encouraged to hear that. So let me just do a quick orientation as we wind this down. So folks, you're tuned in here to our Fixed Ops Marketing Panel Discussion Series. It's something we launched in, I guess, September. And what we do is pretty much the last Tuesday of every month, we come together in a webinar format like this and focus on one or two different talking points. So if you want to be part of the conversation, think of it like it's an open community. You can see we have, not including myself, we have five folks on today. We have Owen Moon from Fixed Ops Digital and Greg Noonan from Insight Media. He's a fixed ops consultant. Greg, you've been kind of quiet back there. Jared Kilway's at Germain, Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford, and James Windrow here from Revolution Parts. Let me point out here, on the blog, if you click on Fixed Ops Marketing, you'll see we filtered out basically all the panels that are in this series, so you can watch the full recordings right there in each individual blog post. We put the recorded live stream in there. Once we end this live stream, it becomes unlisted. So the only way to really access it is if you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, then you would receive a link. But another thing you can do is when you go to the sign up page, which is linked to right down here, that'll bring you over here. What I encourage you to do is get registered with the series. Once you're registered, you're always registered. And you'll automatically receive invites to participate in the panel. You can join via Zoom, just sit backstage, and you can use the Q&A and be part of it. The other thing is you'll get an invite to our Slack member network. Yeah, if you look under here, we have not just a LinkedIn discussion group, we have a member network on Slack. And what happens is we post a link to the archives there. So lots of different ways to collaborate. I encourage everyone that's part of this to get involved. We're committed to your success. We've got Fixed Ops Digital here, thanks to Owen Moon. I'll mention here, and this is mentioned on the blog post. You can inquire with Owen and his team about digital strategies specific to your fixed ops department. And also thank you to Revolution Parts as well. James is up here. They do a lot of really great like ebooks and learning resources. So here you can see we have advertised the free e-commerce evaluation checklist. So lots of great stuff up there for folks to participate in. I'm going to just any final words from Greg, Ed, Owen, any final words from anybody before we shut down?
Hey, Ryan, just wanted to jump in and say thank you again for having me. It's always fun getting able to sit with you. We had a lot of fun when we were out at Digital Dealer. Always learn a lot from everybody here. Thank you for all you do for the automotive business, us as retailers and vendors. I have a busy couple months ahead of me here. As you're aware, we just acquired 5 of the additional stores in Ohio. So now I get to kind of put that retailer hat back on and take a step back and see, okay, here's where we are on one side, and here's what I need to get to, and kind of relive that voyage all over again. So just want to say thank you.
I appreciate that. And I apologize. I wanted to bring that up because I had just caught wind of it the other day. You guys acquired, you said 5 stores from the Sonic Auto Group?
Correct. So we purchased the previous Hatfield stores, including Hatfield Volkswagen, Hatfield Subaru, Hatfield Kia, Hatfield Hyundai, and the Toyota West location, all previously owned by Sonic in Columbus.
Wow, that's pretty big news. So you got your hands full.
It's been a crazy past 3 weeks, and it's going to be even crazier here 6 months. But it's an exciting opportunity, and definitely excited to see the growth and adjustment here of the group as it continues to grow and develop.
Let me put you on the spot, Jared. You're director of digital strategies and partnerships, is it?
Digital strategies, solutions, overall digital operations.
Okay.
So anything digital for the group.
So 5 stores, they all exist. They're all operating. You've got a whole new set of vendors and tech stacks to deal with. So speak to that. Like, what is your game plan? How do you organize all that and so that you can take swift action?
I've started, I started back at, end of August, kind of getting word that this could happen, starting prep and planning. I've had great help from Matt Raymond. I'm sure everybody knows Matt, great guy. Him and Kristen over there at the Team Chevrolet helped out with, a doc that they had used when they went through a buy sell that we kind of took the bullet points from it and kind of created our own buy sell doc to run through of, okay, here's a 30, 60, 90-day strategy, what we need to do. So been utilizing that to kind of help stay focused. So, day one, it's making sure we have all systems and can literally sell a car. I mean, do I have everything I need to do to sell a car? Do we have banks in Route 1? Do I have all the forms mapped in CDK or, DMS software? Are we all set up with everything else that we can actually do transaction? Once that's done, it's coming down and perfecting, the inventory, the pricing, the merchandising, service, making sure we can actually do bill outs to, ROs. Do we have, one thing that completely caught me off guard was, you have your, daily parts that you're turning through every day. And it came to a point where we almost ran out of those at, one of the days of the first week because we had such a high RO count, your daily parts counts, we got pretty scary low. So it's, continuously learning of what happens in those circumstances. But it was been a busy past 3 weeks. I've been up in Ohio most of them and enjoying now being back in sunny Florida here for a couple weeks before I head back for the next steps. So.
Well, good, man. Congratulations. And thank you as well for what you shared. I love doing this. Everyone's different. Some people like to read, some people like to stalk and just, and not collaborate. But I am, as you guys know, always looking for those that want to get in a room and have conversations, meaningful, just candid conversations. So I appreciate everyone here, all you guys taking the time to do this. Greg, I'm going to unmute you because I noticed you were starting to say something, but you were muted. So I'd love to just kind of hear you put a bow tie on things for us.
Well, thank you. I was trying to tell Owen I've been muted for the last 20 minutes because I can't be quiet that long as everybody else here. But everybody else covered us there. And I think it goes back to any one of us. If you forget the car and we think of something that's happened in our day-to-day life where we had a car accident, our house, we had an accident, our insurance policy is when it kicks in. We don't ever know if it's a good or bad policy until it kicks in. What a great spot for a dealer to sit in. And I say this understanding the severity of recalls to show the difference between staying in the dealership for service versus maybe an independent. Not to use recall as a way to get them away from the independents, but it's our obligation as a dealer to sell a customer a car. Cars don't buy cars. And then to deal with that customer throughout the lifetime ownership of that vehicle. I will say, and Jared and no other dealer am I putting on the spot, but it's imperative that you have a process that's financed to stay in touch with your consumers as soon as you see they defected. And you're into a 3-year-old recall, 4-year recall. Yeah, we see a real fall off there, but we should never see a fall off in the first 3 years, and we do. So we need to work as OEMs. That's what our conferences are about. Owen, you know that. Revolution Parts knows that, right? And we're going to pay more attention to this at the next conference as well, aren't we, Owen?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys, and shouts out to those that have been tuned into the live feed. I had comments from Mike, Jim, and Pete. And by the way, Jared, Jim asked if you sleep much when you're talking about picking up these new stores. And Mike had commented, he's with an independent dealer, but they used to have Suzuki and Isuzu, so they're still on the hook for servicing recalls through, I think he said through 2021. So sounds like there's a lot of opportunity out there for those in the industry to really help dealers out in this area. So good takeaway. Ed, any final thoughts?
I just think everybody needs to be prepared for them. A lot of times dealers look at recalls as being thorn in their side, and it's all opportunity. It's opportunity for future business, not only today, winning that customer back over for tomorrow.
And I think it's good advice in general. Look for the opportunity in things, not to be an opportunist, but find the silver lining in this all. Oh, and thanks for lining this up. I appreciate it. It's a good subject.
Yeah, Ryan, I appreciate it. It's awesome. It's good talk. I think a lot of smart people here, and obviously we see the long-term value and what recalls can do. And I don't think they're going away. I think OEMs are, they have the best interest in mind, but things happen, and you just have to kind of, it's like, not so much what's happening, but how you deal with it. And it's a messy situation because you've got the OEM, you've got the dealer, and you got the customer, and anything we can do to provide that seamless customer experience, I think, is going to help everybody win in the long run and keep some of the disruptors away from our business. And I think that's all we're looking to do as professionals and experts and people that are striving to help this industry every day. So appreciate everybody that came on, and Ryan, always a pleasure. Thanks for obviously creating a platform for us to be able to do this. So
my pleasure. All right, everyone. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and take the stream offline, and we'll disappear into thin air, and we'll have this out on the podcast probably right before Christmas. So take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.